Hey guys, it's Mary from SVG Cuts here with some brand new projects. Finally, it's been a while since I've had some new projects. These ones have been taking me a little bit longer since they are a little bit more complex than, for example, a set of 5 box cards, which are great too. I love simple stuff, and some of these are simple, but I really poured myself into this one. I actually had these 4 things all designed right here, and I was trying to come up with something with the same theme that was kind of simple and straightforward. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a giant clock that lights up. Why not? You know, nice and simple. So the thing that took me a while was just like getting it perfect, so that when you make it, you can't mess it up. There's no way to really do it wrong if you follow the steps. I made it nice and easy. I like to straddle this fine line between complex but also easy to make. And I've seen a lot of you guys say that in your comments and in your reviews of my projects, and I love to hear that because that's really what I'm going for with bigger projects like this especially. So this time it took me a little bit longer. I also had been taking some time away from the new stuff to update some of my older projects, because I've got 10 years worth of projects on svgcuts.com that you can make with your cutting machine. And with some of the newer cutting machine software, it's a little restrictive with the SVG files. I don't really know why, but I'm trying to roll with it and just update stuff so that no matter what machine you're using, it's going to be as easy as possible for you. So I'm trying to eliminate some steps for some of the newer machines like the Cricut. In the Cricut Design Space, they don't let you import more than 1 SVG file at a time. Other software, you can just drop a whole bunch of them in there and boom. So I've been updating older designs to include each project saved as 1 single file. So if you take a look at my website, svgcuts.com, there's a category up at the top called Updated, and anything that's been updated is there. You can find out more information also if you do a search for updated SVG Cuts, SVG Kits. It'll take you to a page on my blog where it's got a list of everything that's been updated that's older, and then some of my newer stuff also has that functionality. So long story short, that's been taking me away from new stuff a little bit. If you've been wondering where I am, I've gotten a couple messages from people being like, are you okay? And I am. I'm good. I've been working so hard, you guys, even though you haven't seen a lot of new stuff. So I'm super excited that today's here. I've done a lot of work to get here. I would like to thank you guys for making this possible. So, to the projects, I could start with probably the most wow factor, the clock. You've seen it in all its glory, and this is how big it is. It's a real clock that is functional. It takes one battery, and it lights up, and you can still get to the battery and the dial inside there, and it has a strip of LED lights. You can just use plain white, or you can get one that changes colors if that floats your boat. You can get the lights at Home Depot or on Amazon. The Amazon ones are $16 US. The Home Depot ones are $25 for the colored, $20 for the plain. So however you want to do that. There's probably some other choices that'll work, but we'll talk about that when we put this together here in just a minute. So I'm really happy with the way that this came out, and I think it's super cool. If you've seen the new Mary Poppins Returns movie, which I just saw, and I was afraid to not like it because I really love the first one. I always have. Either you love it or you kind of don't. I'm in the love it boat, and I'm in the love it boat for the new one too. I pretty much cried the entire time I watched it, like a big nerd. I was like, I don't care. I'm loving it. So anyway, that's just me. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but even if you're not a big Mary Poppins fan, I think you could still love these projects, which is what I was going for too. So this, I mean, what other movies has the Big Ben been in? Probably. I mean, it's an icon. That's why I called this project the Iconic Clock. And I just found out that they repainted the numbers blue. I guess they discovered that they used to be royal blue and they repainted them blue. So, interesting tidbit. But, I mean, Peter Pan, Big Ben, I think, is in the Disney Peter Pan movie. So comment below if you can think of something else that it's been in, too. I'd be interested to know. I'll Google it later when I'm, if I can't sleep, I'll be Googling that. So, very exciting. Can't wait to see yours. Can't wait to see if you put a different twist on it, because you could do whatever you want. That's what's fun about the crafts and the paper crafts. So, the boot. The boot is super cool also. Very happy with it. I just realized that it also kind of reminds me of one of my childhood favorite things, the American Girl doll Samantha. She didn't wear heels because she was a little girl. Not that little girls can't wear heels, but I don't know. So she had some similar shoes to this, and I also just made it with white buttons, or white brads, which came out very cool. Here's my other one that I just made for this video, which you're about to see here. So looks really cool like that. It would look cool in all black, all like whatever. I can't wait to see what you do. That's why it's so fun. So it could also work for Halloween, like a witch's shoe too. I think that would be cool. Also, I'm sure you guys have some amazing ideas already brewing, so very excited to see. So we also have this cute little hat. I've gotten a lot of requests for like a lady's straw hat. You could make this like a straw spring summer hat, I think, too. You could probably even make it like a fishing hat for a guy project and maybe put some little fishing lures in it. But it is a box, and it kind of sits up a little higher than just, the brim doesn't just sit right on the table, which would be cool too, but it kind of sits up a little bit. There's a panel you can emboss if you want, and hopefully you like it. So we also have a cute little kite box, and it opens up like a petal style, like this. So you could gift it to someone. I was watching some snail mail videos on YouTube, and for some reason it kind of made me think of this idea, because I feel like you could incorporate it into some kind of cute little package that you would send somebody just to brighten their day. It's a real thing out there. The snail mail people on Instagram, like hashtag snail mail revival. It's a lot of fun to look through. People kind of pour their artistic creativity into these amazingly beautiful envelopes and Mod Podge, some cutouts and stuff. And I don't even think a lot of them use cutting machines. They just make beautiful things. So anyway, that's what that kind of got me for some reason thinking about this, because you could mail it, I don't know, carefully, obviously wrapped up nicely. But then finally, a box card. I love box cards. I had to figure out a park bench box card. I'm really excited about it. It's kind of like our Adirondack chair box card, in that it's not really much of a box, but it does fold flat. You just pop up the little seat parts and just gently, carefully lay it flat either way, and then it fits right in its envelope. And you send it or give it to someone, and they will definitely be like, "Are you kidding me? You made that bench card. It's a card that's a bench." So if you enjoy getting people amazed at your crafts, then hopefully you have fun with that one. And I can't wait to see the twist that you put on it. So it's been long enough waiting for these new projects. I hope you have fun making them. I have all my pieces cut out to show you in just a moment how all 5 of them go together. So let's get started. First of all, for the day hat, I've got the finished hat here. As you can see, it's a cute little box, and fits together just like that with the cute little flowers and stuff on it. So the front of it kind of comes to a little bit of a point, and there it is. So I've got the pieces here, and your machine will have cut a number into a lot of your pieces. I went ahead and went over it with a white gel pen just so you could see it better in this video. But there are 10 sides, and the bottom of the box here, that's these pieces 1 through 10. They're almost identical, but not quite. And then the top of the hat here, that's these pieces, and they're a little different, 1 through 10, but they're different than these because they have some more parts up on top. So if you want to go ahead and fold all of those over, you can, and then we'll get to these other pieces in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and lay these all out, and all I'm going to do is glue them together side to side, 1 through 10. I'm going to go ahead and start with piece number 1. I've got my favorite glue here. You don't have to use the same glue. I'm hooked on it. It's easy to find. The tip is precision, and it dries clear. On black paper, it dries a little bit shiny, so you have to be a little more careful. The only drawback is that it has a tendency to get clogged up, but it's easy to just shove a pin or something in there, which I'm going to have to do right now. I happen to have this random little pin that I keep nearby, and sometimes I just have to open that hole up a little bit. But all I'm going to do to put this together is put some glue on each of these tabs. I have a little more glue than necessary on here. If you are new to using this glue, you will get the feel for exactly how much is the right amount. If you put too much on, it has a tendency to come out the seam there. So I'm just going to glue each tab into place one by one. Working my way up just like that, closing up the seam. So you can go ahead and do that with all 10 of these pieces. the same exact way, a little bit of glue, and then one by one, gluing them into place. If it's okay with you guys, I'm gonna go ahead and show the rest of the 10 pieces here, but I'm gonna speed up the video because it's pretty repetitive. Keep it moving. Oh, but it's just so cute on you. Come on. Come on. Winnie, come on. Just wear a hat. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that annoying? Okay. So as you can see, I'm closing up the seam here. And my helper is super helpful already. So it's the same. I'm just doing it the same way I did before, but with the whole thing together here. Oh my Lord. Okay, I better get this together, and then I'm gonna have to put up my baby gate, I think. Sorry, Winnie. You're cute. Nice feet. Nice feetsies. Oh, ruh-roh. Somebody's not happy with Mom. Next, I've got these two pieces. They're smaller than these two, which are going to be used later. So I've got these two, and as you can see, one of them has a little circle cut out of it. And that's going to line up with this little circle right here. So I'm going to bend these slightly out of the way. And this is going to get glued inside here. First I'll put some glue on this tab with the circle and anchor that into place, lining everything up. And then I'll anchor the opposite side, just any tab on the other side. Then I'll just put glue on the rest of them. Oh. And then glue the rest of them down into place. next I can glue this into place, and if you look at it, you can see that it's a little more pointed right here, just like right here where the circle is. That's the front of the hat, and I'll just glue that right onto the top, and that has a slight border around it, so just glue it right into the center. Next, let's go ahead and glue our band onto our hat. So that's made up of these two pieces, and I took a red ink pad and rubbed it around the edges. Just an optional nice little touch if you want to do something like that. Not necessary, but I think it adds a good effect. Sorry, Winnie. She got locked out. So I'm just going to glue these two together side to side using these two little tabs on the end of each piece. So here's my hat band, and these are the two seams right here where it was glued together. I'm going to hold it like this. As you can see, it's kind of shaped like a mountain or a rainbow or something. So I'm going to have it like that. Here's the front of my hat, and I'm going to put it just like this. That's how it'll fit exactly perfectly. So I'm going to keep that right there. So I'll put a few dots of glue around just to lightly secure it. Oops. Here's the front. Again, here's where I put it. And that's how I'm going to slide it down just right. So as I'm working my way around, I can also bend these tabs backwards. Just like this. Now we've got these pieces. This one goes on the inside of the hat at the end to finish it off. And then this piece is going to go just like this. If you look closely on this piece, the one with the little circle in it, there's a score line here, just as a guideline. You don't need to fold it, but I will put a little bit of glue there, and then glue this together using that line to line it up. And then this is going to go right onto our hat. As you can see, that circle lines up with the other circle. So now we can go ahead and glue down all of these tabs. Next, I'm going to take this piece here and glue that on the inside to finish it off and hide those tabs. I didn't make it go all the way to the edge so that if you want to curve your hat, it's a little easier to do that, which we'll do in just a moment. So this seam here is going to line up with this seam. As it's drying, I'm just pressing it down and going around. Next, this is kind of like a panel, just to kind of reinforce it and just finish it off. If you want, you can emboss it. I embossed it on my original hat with some butterflies, or just plain is really cute too. So I'm going to put glue all over it and put it in place, and then I'm going to curve the edges of my hat up a little bit just for a little extra flair and style, but that is not necessary. I just think it looks a little bit more like a Mary Poppins hat that way. So if that's the look you want to go for, you can, or if not, that's cool too. When it's just straight, it kind of looks like a cute trendy fedora, like a lady's kind of slightly wider brimmed fedora, I think. So again, we're just going to line up the seam with the existing seam back there and just kind of carefully get that into place. If you get any glue where it's not supposed to be, you can take care of it before it dries. If you want to use your fingernail or a straight pin or something, safety pin or whatever, near the seam, it's easy to get it off. So start from one side and kind of make sure that it's flat, and then I'm going to start curving it up also without creasing it, hopefully. So I'm going to go around a couple times as it's drying, and I'm curving it up. You just tell that paper what you want it to do. So there we go. It's just a slight curve. Kind of adds a little something something. Or not is cool too. Now for the bottom of our hat. Again, it just looks like this. It's really simple. And it also comes to a little point here, which is the front right here. So, another thing to note is that when you put them together, the bottom is not completely flush, so that it kind of sits up and has something to make it look more like a hat, I think. So now again, we'll just take these 10 pieces. Your machine will have cut that number into the edge there. And I just went over it with a white gel pen so that you could see it better in this video. So just like before, I'm going to go ahead and put glue on the 4 tabs. This one has 4 tabs only. And glue them all together side to side, 1 through 10, 1 tab at a time. And I'm going to go ahead and show that in a fast forward view so that it doesn't take too long because it's very repetitive. So here's all 10 of my sides glued together, and as you can see there's a little triangle down here which is the front of my hat, and I will be gluing this piece right inside, lining up its triangle. I'm going to glue all these down, and then I'll just glue this bottom right into place. As you can see, it's a little more pointy on this end, which goes on this pointy end here. I'm sure there's more than one way to do this part here. You can be more meticulous and go one by one if you want. I'm going to just put glue on all these tabs, bend them over, and then glue the bottom into place. So here's our hat looking pretty cute, and then I've got these other little embellishment pieces. There's really no right or wrong way to put them together, but as you can see on my original one, I layered up the 2 little pink flowers as well as the blue one, and then I put these circles on top of this. This one is just 2 layers glued onto this green vine that's coming out of here. And then this one is just layered up with the blue, and I put some enamel dots on the blue layer. So you can really do that however you'd like. If you want to gently bend the petals a little bit, that's a nice touch on all of them. And then just glue them together like that. So these 2 skinny pieces that are the smallest, if you want to try to bend each one and then glue them on top of each other with the small circle on here, you can put a dab of glue and glue that right inside like that. And then this one, I just layered up with the little circle, that small guy, that guy, this guy, which I put enamel dots on, and then these ones. If you want to split it up more or layer them differently, you can do that. You can do whatever you want. I think it always looks cool to bend the petals if you can. And then you can just glue them right onto each other, or if you want to use some adhesive that's dimensional like pop dots, you can. I think I did put one in between some layers on that large flower. And then if you want to add some more buttons and dots and bling, you can do that too, whatever strikes your fancy. Next, for the iconic clock, I have all my pieces cut out to show you how it goes together, but first of all, I kind of figured out a little tip for pulling a big piece of vellum off of a cutting mat. Your mat might look different depending on what kind of cutting machine you have. I have a Cricut cutting machine mat in front of me. Sorry, it's a little grungy looking. But when you're peeling off vellum, sometimes if you just regularly peel it off, like let's pretend that this is vellum. If you go like this, sometimes you'll get a crease in the vellum, which kind of ruins the effect because it's like a permanent crease when you peel it off. So something that I did when I was peeling mine off was I took this part here and I like butted it up against my stomach basically to secure it, and then I held my vellum like this, and I sort of kept the vellum flat as I peeled the mat away. So basically what I did was I kept the vellum straight like this, and then I peeled the mat away from it, kind of using my table and my body and my arms. Hopefully that makes some sense, and hopefully that helps you, because I had to recut my vellum piece a couple times because I kept getting a crease in it. So just to kind of go over the pieces, I have these 4 corners here. Then I've got 4 pieces that look like this, which get folded. They get folded here and here. There's also 4 pieces like this, which just get folded once. Then I've got 4 pieces that look like this, and those teeth just get folded over. Then I've got quite a few gold shapes, as well as 2 large squares of vellum with circles cut out of the center. Then I've got this main piece of the clock face, and I went and anytime there was a sharp corner, I rounded it out so that your cutting machine will cut it nicely. I cut this out 3 or 4 times and it cut perfectly every time, which was exciting because when I first designed it, I just had my fingers crossed that I hadn't made it too detailed. There's this piece here and 4 little donut shaped pieces which are going to reinforce the hole on the back side. And then there's this large split ring, as well as 4 corners that look like this. And then we've got some pieces that look like this. One's a little bit smaller than the other. And then 2 pieces that look like this, which are the back. I'm going to start by creasing over the teeth tabs on all 4 of these pieces, just like this. I already did that for the other 3, so I'll just finish this one up. I had a hair tie on my arm for a couple hours. That's why it looks a little weird. Okay, so then we can glue these together side to side very carefully, making sure that this little corner and this one line up with these 2 corners. So it's really important that those are as precisely lined up as possible. So I'll just get my trusty glue and put some and it does not matter what order you go in. If you kind of want to stagger them size-wise, whatever you want to do is fine. It does not matter, as long as they all get glued together end to end, forming a ring. Next, I'm going to take this piece and glue it on the underside of these tabs. So right now my ring is kind of shaped like this as opposed to like this. So this part is smaller than this part. It's kind of angled. So if you take a look at my finished project, you can see how it's angled outwards, this ring. So I have it sitting like that, and I've got this piece, and I'm going to glue it basically underneath this top ring of teeth. So it's going to take a little time, but just one by one, I'm going to get it started. So I've got the edge of the ring right up against the inside there. And I'm just going to work my way around until it's all glued into place. Next, I'm going to attach this piece to this piece by feeding these teeth through this space right here, right through here. So to do that, most of them are going to go through. However, some of them are going to stay on this side. So first I'm going to feed them where I want them to go, and then I'm going to glue them down. So as you can see, a bunch of them are going through the back. And then when I get to a part that's kind of blocked, then that one will stay on the outside here, right there. So again, I'm just going to position them first, and then I'll glue them down. So I got to this spot right here, and there's one that's staying on my side here. So there's one staying out right here. There's one staying out right here. There's one staying out here. There's one staying out here. If you need to have two stay out, that's fine. It should work out where there's just one out per number there, but it's not the end of the world if more than one needs to stay out. So I've got groups of 5 tabs all the way around. So I've got groups of 5 tabs coming through all the way around, and then on the underside there's 12 spaced out coming around. If you need to adjust it at all, you can. So before you start gluing them down, if you want to take a closer look and make sure that, like, for example, like right here, you know, there's enough space. There's nothing that's being kind of bent or constricted too much. So once everything looks good, we can go ahead and start gluing down each of them. So I'm going to put a dot of glue on 5 of them. And make sure it's a nice snug fit as you press them down to dry. I'm going to jump across to the other side, and you want it to be as snug as possible. So you really want these teeth to be butted up against the curve as much as possible. So now all of our teeth are glued down on the other side there, so we can go ahead and secure these down too. I guess that's kind of optional, but might as well. So go ahead and glue all 12 of those down. So if you get any glue that's coming out the side before it dries clear, you might want to get it off. I like to do it with a little straight pin. So here's my clock face kind of starting to take shape there. Next, for these two pieces, there's one of them. This one has rounded corners. It's going to go on the front. This one has square corners. So this is the one we're going to take. And it doesn't matter which way it's going, but you want to gently kind of bend it onto between your layers here. Might be easier to do it this way. Just want to be careful and get that on the inside there. So that's a little awkward, but I've got it between the two layers now. So it's in there and it's loose. Next, I'm going to glue the 4 outer sides onto the front. And the 4 outer sides are the ones that look like this. There's 4 identical pieces. You just want to fold them along their 2 fold lines. To do that, I just sort of pre-fold it gently a little bit. You might have to tell it where to go on the corner there. And then a little more harshly with it laying flat. If you want to use some kind of straight edge tool to make it nice and crisp, that's not a bad idea. Although sometimes that makes it go off of its line a little bit. So just do your best to fold it over nicely. It might be best to just do it flat from the beginning. Like I've said before, sometimes this textured cardstock is fantastic for many reasons, but the only drawback sometimes is that sometimes the score lines get lost in the texture and it has a tendency to fold off the lines sometimes. You just have to be extra careful. So I've got 4 pieces that look like this, and I'm going to glue them onto the 4 sides of this loose piece that we just fed into the center of our project here. So to do that, I'm going to lay my piece flat and then take this upper layer here, and I'm going to be gluing it right onto the front just like this, nice and precisely. So if you've got any glue showing that you don't like, you could take a pin of some sort and kind of take care of it carefully. This glue that I'm using, the Scotch Quick Dry, it does dry clear, but it dries kind of shiny, so especially on black paper, you can kind of see it sometimes. So if you want to be really meticulous, you can do that. So go ahead and put the other 3 sides on the same way, and it does not matter. It doesn't matter which one goes where, or if it's like this or like this. So now my project looks like this. This part is still loose in here, and it's got cat hair on it, and it's loose like this. So what we want to do is we want to glue this ring down, put a ring of glue underneath the ring and glue it down. However, if it's not perfectly square, we're going to have a problem. So the way that we're going to make sure that it's perfectly square, for example, if I were to glue it like this, that's not going to fly. So as we're gluing it down, we're going to align it by folding these to make sure that it's perfectly perpendicular and right angles and all that, and perfectly lined up. So if it matters to you, obviously this is noon going around here. If you want, the top, maybe you got like a glue smudge on one of these sides. If you want to make that the bottom, you can turn this. So once you're happy with that, we can go ahead and glue the ring down. So to do that, I'm going to carefully put a line of glue underneath the ring going all the way around. I'm going to have to work kind of quick so that it doesn't get too dry before I'm ready to put it in place. So it's a little awkward for me to do this on camera here. Hopefully you can kind of see, but I'm putting a line of glue on the underside of this ring. So make it go all the way around. However is easiest for you to do that. Sounds good to me. I'm probably going to get some extra glue on my project, but you can be more careful since you're not trying to film yourself while you're doing yours. And it's okay if it's a little sloppy. Okay, so it looks like it's nice and straight, so I'm gonna I'm checking that it's nice and straight by gently folding these up, and then once I'm happy with it, I'm gonna be careful not to move anything and press down from the inside onto that ring to glue everything down. You might want to try not to scoot your project around too much in case there's some glue that comes out somewhere. You don't want to get it all over your project. So just go around a couple times, pressing down as it's drying. And there we go. Okay. So next, here's a fun part. We can glue this gold flower-ish design onto the back of our project. And I want to align it so that there's a line, this line right here. I mean, I think there's 12 of them, but as opposed to like this is not necessarily wrong like this, but I want there to be a line right there, kind of so that this line is pointing at this dot. Each line is pointing at a dot. So however is easiest for you to do that, you can. What I'm gonna do is put a very small dot of glue, just going around, just a very, very tiny dot of glue kind of around this ring basically. And we don't want there to be too much glue, otherwise it will be crusty on your gold mirror paper, which is not really the look that you probably want to go for. You can probably scrape it off, but the tinier the dots, the better. And then, I'm not sure if you want to glue it like this, you can do that, or you can glue it like this. Either way, as long as you're very careful. It's kind of hard for me because I can't really get my face up in my project like I would like to, but you can do that at home, I'm sure. So there we go, that wasn't so bad. Mine is not as perfect as it could be, but close enough. So if you do have any glue that has come oozing out, you could take a pin and kind of clean it up a little bit. By some miracle, mine is not crusty, which is always nice. Next, I want to glue my two pieces of vellum together, but in order to tell where to put the glue, I'm going to place one of the pieces on my project, centered nicely. And then I will put some glue on the corners here. And I don't want to get very close to the exposed areas because the glue has a tendency to really wrinkle the vellum. So I'm going to stay about a ½ inch or so away from where it's going to show through. And I do want to work pretty quick. It doesn't have to be very perfect in the corners. That's fine like that. And then I will glue the other piece of vellum right on top of the other one. It's probably more important that the circles are perfectly lined up than the corners, but do your best to line it up really nicely and to not get any glue on the vellum where it's going to be showing. Once it takes hold, if you want to take a straight edge and sort of brush away from the center, I think that's a good idea. But if you get glue on your straight edge, you don't want to rub it on your project. So just be really careful and smooth out those bubbles if you can. I totally just got glue on mine. So just be careful. Be careful, folks. Vellum, glue and vellum, the struggle is real with that. Okay. Next, I'm going to glue this double vellum onto my project by gluing it in the same exact spots. So you want to obviously align this circle and kind of make sure that it's in place, and then quickly press down from the inside and make sure that it's taking hold. If you want to take some kind of a straight edge and carefully use that to really flatten it out, that's a great idea. Because again, the glue has a tendency to make the vellum wrinkle up. So before it's dry, if you can really smooth it out gently yet firmly, that's awesome. I'm going to take a peek from the other side, see how it's looking. Anything you can do to smooth it out and away from the center is fantastic. Next, I'm going to take this black flower-ish shape. And I'm going to glue that right onto the back. And you want it to line up. As you can see, there's kind of the same shape as right here in the middle. You want to line it up so the circle's lined up and so that those points are lined up. And I'm just going to put a very thin ring of glue around the inside here. And again, I don't want it to wrinkle my vellum, so try to not get too cray-cray. Looking good, taking shape, it's exciting. Next, I'm going to use the 4 pieces that look like this with the 1 fold on them. I went ahead and folded 3 of them, and I'll fold the other one. So I think the best way to fold a long skinny fold line near an edge like that is to keep it flat and just kind of get it started. Make sure those corners are not getting thrown off. The more precise you can be, the better your project's going to turn out. So all 4 of these pieces are the same, and we're going to glue them onto the 4 sides of this piece here. Just like this. So you want to make sure that it's lining up nicely. Maybe get the 2 corners locked in, and then you might be tempted to fold this completely over so you can really get it. However, I don't know, I kind of had a bad experience with that during a prototype that I was doing, so I would recommend that you just keep it flat and smooth it out. So now this piece is attached like that, and go ahead and do that for the other 4 sides. So now we can put this to the side for a moment while we assemble the face of our clock. So for the face of our clock, we're going to be gluing this gold piece onto this black piece. And then we've got our four corners here, which are all identical. Those are going to be centered on the four corners. And then there's four pieces like this, which are identical. They get centered also. And then these four pieces, which go on the four corners. And if you kind of keep them where they were on your mat, you can tell where they're supposed to go. And if it doesn't matter to you, then that's totally fine. However, this little guy is going to go here. This guy is going to go here. They're all just slightly different. And then this guy is going down here. And this little guy is going up here. Then there are 8 pieces that look like this. There's 4 that go one way and then 4 that go another way. And they are going to go like this and like this. So they're kind of going in here and then out here. Not super crucial, but we've come this far, we might as well be really meticulous about it. And for the record, it doesn't matter if it's like this or if it's like this. World's tiniest little piece. So for each corner, it's the same. Just like this. So I'm going to assemble these and then put them on the 4 corners of my front. Who's ready for some meticulous gluing? So however you want to do this is cool. I only put a couple dots, very tiny, tiny dots here and there. And you don't want to get any glue on your gold paper, otherwise you're going to see it. As well as on the black, because it dries pretty shiny. So this is the lower left corner. And at this point you might want to clean yours up quickly with a little straight pin if you have any crusty glue showing. I'm really just putting like a couple random super tiny dots of glue and pressing down and then cleaning it up a little bit. So you can go ahead and assemble the other 3 corners the same way. So I've got my 4 corner pieces assembled over here, and I'm going to glue this piece onto the other one and then glue those 4 corners into place. So I'm going to try to go kind of light and spread out with my glue, because sometimes it does kind of wrinkle. It just shows up kind of wrinkled on the other side of this mirror paper. Not always, but sometimes. So I just want to center this as best I can right onto the front. And it can be a little tricky to line it up. You would think it'd be straightforward, but it's just, it's a little tricky. I keep peeling it off. I think it might be easier to do one corner first, get it very aligned, and then the other corners. And then you can flip it over and really press down a little bit better. Next, I'm just going to carefully center these 4 corner pieces onto the 4 corners. Next, I can glue it right onto the front of my project. But first, you want to make sure that you have it lined up. So the noon 12 is here, and then 1, 2, 3 before you glue this on, just like this. So I'm going to put a very thin line of glue pretty close to the edge of the circle. And then also pretty close to the edge of the whole thing. And then once you've got it aligned, you can press down from the inside firmly maybe try not to scoot it around too much in case there's some glue on your work surface so that you don't get it on your project. And if you want to also take some kind of a straight edge and use that to firmly but carefully press down from the inside, that's a good idea too. And it looks like we got it good. That's awesome. If you need to kind of press anything else down, you can. I'm just gonna give it another smush just to make sure it's all good as it's finalizing its drying. Next, I'm going to put glue all over the side of this piece, and I want this to be bent up at a right angle, and the edge of this should align perfectly right inside this fold line, just like this. And then as it's drying and as it's taking hold, I want you to press it down and make sure that it's lined up really nicely and a very nice right angle. So you don't want your glue to be too thick. Maybe try to make the lines kind of thin so that it doesn't wrinkle on the outside, because this will be visible out here. So it's taking hold. I want to keep it exactly where it is. Make sure that this is still able to fold over. And then you could take your straight edge and get rid of any wrinkles. Maybe check and make sure. Yeah, we look good. So go ahead and do that for the other 4 sides, or the other 3 sides. Next I'm going to glue my 4 corners onto the 4 corners. So to do that, I'm just going to put some glue inside here and glue that on. If you want to do one side at a time, you could. That might not be a bad idea. However you feel is the most precise. Sounds good to me. I'm going to go with one side at a time. So again, you just want to be as precise as possible. Line everything up really well, nice snug fit, and press it down as it's drying. So there's one corner. So go ahead and put the other 3 corners on the same way. So here's my project so far. We're making progress. The only thing left to put on is the back and the clock hands and the lights. So the next step is the lights. For my original clock, I used these from Home Depot. They were about $25 and they change color. They also have the same exact thing in white without the remote control, which is about 20 bucks. Anything similar is going to work great as long as it's an adhesive strip about 8 feet. I figured 8 feet was good because this is divisible by about 4. Each of these sides is almost a foot, so it's kind of like, 8 feet could go around twice and it would be evenly lit. So anything that's about divisible by 4 is going to be great, and even if it's not, you probably won't be able to tell either. So I just say that for if you're shopping online for some lights. I have the information about exactly what I got from Amazon that's very similar to this. I have that in the product description for this project at svgcuts.com. But for some reason, if you wanted to go rogue and shop for something similar, that's probably going to work just fine too, as long as it's somewhat similar. So with this being about 7 feet, that's pretty darn similar to what I got at Home Depot. So we can go ahead and open it up. So this baby comes with these inside the box. We have our remote control and part of the cord. Oh, this is an exciting moment. It's all mine. And then the lights themselves. Am I the only one that saves? It says throw away, and I used to throw them away, and sometimes I save them and I put them in my bins of decorations, because I'm like, hey, might as well absorb moisture in there too, right? I don't know, crazy. And then this cord with a plug. So these are extremely sticky. They're already like sticky on the edges even. And when we peel off this backing, it's going to be super, super sticky. So basically, all we want to do is affix the lights going around inside so that they end somewhere near the back and the bottom, because the bottom has this hole down here, so we want the cord to be coming out of that hole. So let's get a feel for exactly how this is going to go. So obviously the plug part is going to be going into the wall. This is going to be going through, it plugs into here. This is the receiver for the remote control. And from my experience, it doesn't need to be exposed or pointing in a certain direction to work properly. And then this is going to plug into here. So one thing to note about these lights is that if you, I can't really tell which way is which, but if you put them one way, they will not work. If you put them another way, they will work. So when you first take them out of the box, I suggest plugging them in and making sure they work, and also seeing which way they're supposed to go. So if you're using the same lights as me, you can follow exactly along with me. If you're using something slightly different, you can do something similar. This hole is big enough so that it should definitely fit an average thing like this, especially if you are literally using the same thing as me. Here's what the Home Depot lights look like, this coming out of here, and they have a little adapter in the bottom, which it's sitting in the bottom. There's a little adapter down there that's part of the whole contraption. So the tape lights themselves are kind of just holding that in down there. So if you have the same lights from Home Depot, the only difference is that this part here has a little box, which it just sits on the bottom. If they're gonna end right there, they're gonna be plugged in like this, and just like this. So I also found that the only other thing to really know is when we're affixing the tape lights, you want to try to kind of stay near the middle area so that your project is balanced. If you put all the lights right up along this side or right up along the back, it might be a little front heavy or back heavy. So these are going to go around about twice. So I'm going to stay near the middle, and I'm going to affix them around so that the end is right here. One of the nice things about the Home Depot lights is that this part of it comes on a little wheel. This is empty now, but this kind of makes it a little easier to hold on to everything as you are affixing your tape lights around. So there's that. I'll just have to be careful not to get this stuck to my vellum, because that's not gonna be good. Before you start taping your lights in, make sure that you know where the bottom is. So obviously this is noon, 1, 2, 3. This is the bottom. I started taping my lights not onto the bottom. Oopsies. Dun dun dun. Moment of truth. So here's some advice from me. It doesn't need to be super tight in the corner, because if it is, it might misshape your project, because this is so sturdy and rigid, and your paper is less rigid. So just a nice soft little curve there in the corner is a-okay. So if yours starts getting a little not straight, no one's going to see it if you just kind of redirect it as you're going along. It's not the end of the world. It's not the most perfect job here, but it's really going to be pretty hidden, so I'm okay with it. So it almost goes around twice. So the only other thing I have to say about the tape lights right now is that if you want, you could secure it with some extra tape. I don't think it's necessary because this adhesive is ridiculously strong, but it's up to you. If you think it may someday come off, then if you want to add some more tape, now's your chance. Next, we're going to glue our back on, but you could just glue these two pieces together and then glue them onto the back, or you could glue one at a time onto the back, or I like the idea of putting one inside the back. Next, I'm going to put a strip of glue on this tab here, and this is definitely the bottom of my project, so I'm going to glue this right onto here. Nice and precise. Then we can go ahead and glue our 4 little donuts together. And glue that right inside. Next, I'm going to put a strip of glue on the opposite tab. And for this part of everything right now, like for example, that did not work, what I just did. I'm gonna fix that in a second, but this part, as long as the corners are aligned, that's good. Because this part will be hidden and it's kind of just for reinforcement. So again, this part is not perfect, but we're gonna just glue everything down now with some glue all over these tabs and the whole back. And this final piece will kind of get everything all fixed up. So you can do whatever you need to do to sort of make it take hold. before I plug everything in, I'm just gonna put my clock parts in place, and then we can have our big aha moment. So here is my clock parts package. And for the exact information on this, it's from Amazon. I looked at Michael's and Hobby Lobby, and they did not have a kit like this of these dimensions. What they had was a lot smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and put my battery in now. And you can see on this little diagram how it goes. So again, you want to pay attention to where your numbers are. So I'm taking it like this and putting this little guy on and feeding it in from the back side. Just kind of gently but forcefully twisting it in to get it through. Yeah, I'm actually missing a washer. Hopefully that's not the end of the world. There's supposed to be a washer next. And then my little hex nut. That's crazy. Where's my washer? So I'm making sure that my little thingy is straight on the inside, and it says do not over tighten. So obviously you want it to be pretty tight, but apparently if you over tighten it, you can cause some kind of problem, I guess. Then we do the hour hand at the 12 o'clock position. Obviously you don't want to bend it. And the minute hand, I don't see why it really has to be at 12 o'clock, but and then this little finishing guy here, which oddly enough doesn't really go that far into it. So now keeping the back part even, you can use the dial to set the time, which I won't do right now. And it does also come with this, which is not necessary for this project. So now I'm gonna plug my lights in. I'm so excited. So I got them in an extension cord thing. So I probably am gonna need to tape this down because it's gonna be showing a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. This is not acid-free tape. This is plain old Scotch tape, and I'm using it. Gosh darn it. Could be a little more elegant the way I did that, but so be it. So, a moment of truth, yay! Oh yeah, that's my clock, what? My only thing is I wish I would have, on this one I did not glue down that back black flower behind the vellum. I should have maybe put a couple dots around behind it. I did that with my first one, I'm now realizing, and it's a little better. So I'll put a note in this video about that, but if you have the color changing, you can change it to different colors, which is fun. Or you can have it cycle through smoothly or not, or whatnot. So super cool. Next, for the kite box, I've got the pieces here in front of me, and I've also got the PDF menu, which comes with your download, which I printed out. And as you can see, the colors on it are like 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you're choosing what colors and patterns or whatever you want on your finished project, you can see that this corresponds with that, this corresponds with that, this with that, and so on. So I'm going to lay these out the same way as far as what I used. And then this is the back, and these are the two main pieces that make up the box. So I'm just going to lay these out the way that they are in the PDF so that it's easy for me to see what's going where. Like so. And this one is like this. So that's what I used for mine, and I'm going to go ahead and glue this together. It's really easy peasy. I went ahead and folded everywhere where there's a fold line. So I'm going to glue them together side to side first, using these little round tabs. If you're making a lot of these and you wanted to glue these on while this is still flat, you could do that. I just feel like it's a little easier to tell what's going where when everything is already taking shape. So this is going to be the front of our box, and this will go here, this will go here, that will go there, and so on. And then on the flaps will correspond also. So the back is kind of a decorative back, and this part is just going to get glued on the inside there. So to make that easier, I'll bend these backwards to get them out of my way. And then it doesn't matter which way this goes, you can put it however you want, just right down on the inside. It's a nice snug fit, so it'll make everything go in the place it's supposed to go just by dropping it in. And then we can glue these pieces on. And for all of these, just something that I did that's optional is I rubbed various ink pads around the edges of my shapes. It's just something that I like to do. I used to always rub a brown ink pad around the edge of almost everything. And then I expanded my ink pad collection. I really like the cat's eye shaped ink pads by Color Box. I think they're easy to use for that purpose. There's a lot of different colors. I've gotten them on Amazon. So for example, on this little triangle here, I have a pink one that I rubbed around the edge. Just kind of creates like a vignette sort of look. And on this piece I rubbed a blue ink pad, so I'll just choose something that's a little bit darker than the main color of the paper a lot of times. Totally not necessary, but I just like the way that looks. Just to make this easier, I'm going to flip it over and lay it flat. So now that you can see where everything goes, if you want, you could put these all on as when it's already flat. More so if you're making a lot of these and you wanted to speed up your process a little bit. Whatever works for you is cool. So there's our cute little box. And it closes up just like this. You could even do this if you want to more harshly crease it so that it stays closed a little bit better. You can do that. Like so. And you can tie some cute stuff on the bottom through these two holes. So on my original project, here's what I did. I tied some twine along with some ribbon. Some of this is probably about 10 years old. I just found some coordinating stuff in my stash. I made the twine a little bit longer, and then I tied 3 little raggedy ribbons on there. It's kind of like seam binding. I can't even recall what it's called. I used to be obsessed with this stuff. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, that's what I did. Next for the Nanny Boot, I'm just going to go over the pieces here real quick. These are the side panels. Then I've also got some interior panels, which your machine will have cut a number into. And I darkened that in with a pencil just for this video so that it's easier to see. So there's 1 through 10 there. Then I've got some black pieces. These ones have a circle cut out of them. Then I also have some pieces with a triangle cut out of them as well as a number. They go 1 through 6, except 6 does not have a triangle cut out of it. And I made the number more visible with a white gel pen just for this video. Then I've also got these pieces which have a number cut out of them as well, except for this part. We've got 1 through 4. That's basically a cap that's going to go on the heel at the end here. Then I have part of the sole. This one is kind of a toe cap that goes on at the end. Then I've got some panels for the heel itself. I've got 3 shapes that look like this. Then I've got these which go together. Then as far as white pieces go, I've also got this one. I suppose it's ivory. And then I have shapes that have a number cut out of them also, 1 through 10, which I darkened in with a pencil just for this video. Then finally, these pieces, which don't have numbers on them, but they go together too. First, let's work on the 3 pieces that have the circle cut out of them. So this part is going to go right here. Then I'll put some glue on these parts here. And carefully line them up nicely. Next, I'm going to fold this piece inside and glue it down using these tabs. Next, I'm going to take this long piece and put it together like this. I'm going to bend these slightly forward. And glue these into place too. As well as this little tab. So this is going to fit right inside here, like so. You want to bend these slightly forward too, but then back down so they can fit inside. Next, I'm going to take these pieces and glue them together. As well as this piece here. And then I'm going to glue this onto the toe. And then I'm going to glue this right onto it, just like this. It's kind of starting to bend a little bit. If you are having that issue, you could kind of curve it a little bit. If you kind of wiggle it back and forth, you can see where this little corner part kind of meets up properly. And this line should kind of meet up nicely. And then secure it right here so that it creates a nice little curve that follows this area here. And it's too bad mine got bent right there. I don't know what I did wrong there. Next, I'm going to take the ivory piece that looks like this and curve these forward. And put some glue on them. I'm going to bend them back down to make it easier on myself and jump across to the opposite side and glue that one. And then glue the others into place. Next, I'm going to take my pieces with the triangle that's cut out of them, and I'm going to start with piece number 1 and put some glue on these 3 tabs here and glue piece number 2 on. And then put some glue on these 5 center tabs. And glue piece number 3 on. Next, I'm going to put piece number 4 on using these tabs, except for these 2. So if your glue gets a little bit messy, it's okay because this is going to be covered up by some panels that are more curvy. Next, I'll put glue on all of these bottom tabs. And the tab with the triangle is the same. It's like lined up with the one below it that has a triangle, if that helps. Next, I'm going to bend these the opposite way. And put some glue here. And then close this piece up. And at this point, if you want to add your heel panels, you can. I embossed mine on my original project with a stripe texture, just to make it look like a block up here and on these 4 sides. So if you want to do that, you can. And then go ahead and glue them where they fit. And then we can glue these together like this. So here's the back flap. It's going to go together like that. And then we can close up the bottom of the heel. Then we can put together this heel cap, but I'm not going to put it on just yet. But you just want to glue these together side to side, 1 through 4 plus this piece. Next, I'm going to glue these ivory pieces together, 1 through 10, side to side, using these side tabs. So, to do that, I'll just put glue on each one. And then carefully line them up and glue them down one at a time. So now I'm just closing up the seam here, and you just want to line up those little circles nicely as you're going along too. Now we can put our side panel together and put that on. So to do that, I'll just put some glue on its tabs and glue these together. And then this will get glued on just like this. Next, I'm going to glue these pieces together. I'm going to bend these forward. And then bend them back. So I'm going to anchor this side and then the other side. Whoa. And then glue down the rest of them. Mine could be lined up a little bit better here, but this part's gonna get covered up, so I'm not gonna stress out about it. Next, I'm gonna put some glue on these 4 tabs. As well as these. And carefully line these up into place. Especially anchoring the corners first. Next, I'm going to take this cap piece and put some glue on these parts here. Next, I'm going to glue these pieces together side to side. So this last piece on this part, you want to make sure that it's going like this. And just take your time, one at a time, following that seam all the way down. So now this piece is going to go right here. We can go ahead and secure it with brads. I've got 10 brads here. I'm just going to go ahead and put them in, and then I will glue down the other side of this panel section. So I am just spreading my brad part just like that. for each one. So that looks awesome. I thought the black was cool, but I ran out of black bead brads, and I like the white also. So now all that's left to put on is the sole, the interior liners, and these pieces, and then also close these up, as well as glue this down. Next, I'm going to take the whitest of these pieces here and put some glue just on the ends of it. And glue it so that its corner is right in this corner here of this piece. Right there. And then it follows that curve around, and its corner lines up with this corner right here. Then the next whitest piece, same thing. Just flush with the bottom there. On both sides. And you can be a little more careful with your glue. I'm getting a little crazy here with mine. Next, I'm going to glue this closed. Just right on the inside there. And the same thing with this final piece here. So you want to feel from the inside and just line it up as precisely as you can. Then we can fold this sole piece and glue that right onto the bottom. So you're going to want to get your glue as close as you can to the edge without getting too close, which is about right here. If you want to just do the front part and then bend it back and do the back part, you could definitely do that. And glue that right onto your project. Lining it up and making sure it's taking hold. Next we can glue our interior liner pieces on. I laid them out 1 through 10. If you look closely, you'll see a number that your machine cut on yours. You don't have to darken it in with a pencil unless you really want to. First I'm going to glue number 1 in. It's easy to tell which one it is because it's got these little button cutouts on it. So we can go ahead and glue that in and then glue the other 9 into place. There's a slight border around the top and the sides of it. And it's just there to finish off your project. And then if you wanted to put maybe some shredded paper in there to make the inside more presentable for some kind of a gift or something, you could do that. So go ahead and glue the other 10 inside, and then your boot is all done. Finally, for the park bench box card, I have the pieces here, except for the envelope, which is off to the side here. So I have the front label, which I went ahead and stamped on. I've got the panels here, as well as the label in the back. Then I've got the side panels, and then the card itself. So these are the 2 sides. These are some reinforcing pieces, and then this forms the rest of the card. These 3 pieces have some score lines on them. So I'm going to go ahead and fold those right now. You could just fold them manually without using anything special, but I feel the urge to use my bone folder. Just if you're not familiar with it, it's just a typical crafting tool for folding a crease more sharply. This piece just has 2 score lines. Pretty close to the edge, so it's a little bit more challenging than your typical fold line. But if you're just careful, you can just fold that over. So you want to make sure that you're really folding those lines right exactly where they are. Sometimes especially with this textured cardstock, it has a tendency to want to fold along its texture sometimes, which can kind of throw off the precision of your fold lines. So just be extra careful that you're folding them exactly where they are. So I've folded my pieces over, not necessarily in the correct direction, but at least the score lines are folded. And at this point, while it's flat, here's my finished card. And while everything else is still flat, I'm going to go ahead and put these side panels on the two sides here. So as you can see in your PDF that comes with your download, the side panels here, when they're cut out, they are actually lined up where they're going to be on your project. So if you have a patterned paper and you want it to have like a continuity between those pieces, you can kind of keep them aligned. After you pull them off your mat, you can kind of keep them together. I did not do that, so I'm going to do my best to put them where they're supposed to go. But you know, if I swap out these little donut pieces, my pattern might not really match up perfectly, but I'm just going to take my chances. So if you felt like it, if I had a lot of time to make this card and I wanted to enjoy my time and use all my supplies, I might just take a black ink pad and just very gently rub it around the edges of each of these shapes. I think that would look kind of cool, but you do not need to do that. These two are easy because of the center cut out there. That goes there. And then this goes here. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those on just like that. So as you can see, there's an even border here, and then this is kind of a bigger border around these. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip those over and glue these reinforcing pieces on. So you can tell which one goes where by attempting to line it up, and this one doesn't quite line up, so it must be on the other side, and it is. So you want to make sure this lines up as perfectly as possible, so that some of the other pieces that butt up against it are going to fit just right. So this piece here is going to go right here. However, as long as it's still flat, I'm going to go ahead and glue these evenly spaced on the back. So you can see about how much space I have between them. And these are not even perfectly spaced, so you just want to do your best. I'm going to start at the top. So if it matters to you that your pattern is has like continuity so that it lines up right. Make sure that you've got the right one for the bottom. You can do this however you want, but I'm gonna do the top and the bottom, and then I'm gonna try to get the middle one in the middle, and then put the other two. Next I'm going to put the back and the label on. And I did go ahead and stamp on mine with my coordinating stamps that I got that go with this paper, which is so much fun. Obviously you don't have to stamp on here. This would be a great place to write something if you wanted to. So as you can see, I put some glue there, and I'm going to use that little shape cut out there to line it up as best I can, and the back of it also lines up with this line here. They line up too. So you want to be as precise as you can so that your card will fold flat. Next, I'm going to take this front label here and glue it right here. And then I'm going to fold this backwards. Not necessary, but if you want to crease it a little harder, you can. And glue this together just like this. Again, being as careful as possible to line it up as precisely as possible. Next, I'm going to take this piece and fold this the opposite way. And then I'm going to glue it right here so that that lines up just like that. And I'll do the same on the other side. I got a little too much glue there. So again, on the other side, it lines up so that that little cutout lines up. Next, I'm going to glue this inside here with some glue on this part. And we just want that to line up with that little part of this little shape here. It should just line up perfectly. So it matches up really nicely right here where those two parts meet. And we'll just do the same thing on the other side. So there you go, there's your card. So now maybe before you give it to someone, you might want to kind of like work out the kinks a little bit. Not necessarily kinks, but just kind of get it used to folding flat. So to do that, you want to pop up these little seat parts carefully as you close it, and then it just lays completely flat like that. You could do it the other way also, just very carefully, like so. And then when it comes time to sit up, you just kind of bend those back down a little bit, and voila. So to make the envelope, it gets cut out like this, and just want to fold it like so. Put some glue here. Then you can insert your card and then glue that closed. So again, to insert your card, just want to take your time, be delicate with it, and close it up. So there you have it, finally some new projects. I'm so excited that they're finally here. Can't wait to see how you make yours. If you do, please share a picture with me on our Facebook page at SVG Cuts on Facebook or on Instagram. I've been sharing a lot of fan photos on Instagram lately. I've just recently figured out how to add your photos to my story and then add them to a highlight on Instagram. So if you're an Instagram person or you want to be an Instagram person, be sure and follow us and check it out and tag SVG Cuts. And I will see your picture and I would love to share it there. Or on your blog, you can share photos of your projects and then pin that on Pinterest. I always say, however you like to share, I always love to see, and so do the rest of our crafty friends. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time, and happy crafting.